New numbers show what ICE agents have been doing in Colorado since President Trump took office. The governor's controversial pedestrian bridge project is making it harder for the Coloradans in charge of planning statewide projects for the state's 150th birthday. Denver is a step closer to reaching a deal on how to spend a ton of money to try and make the city better here, there, and everywhere. And we ask people for their good news over the sound of chainsaws. What could go wrong? Tonight on Next. President Trump made Aurora and Colorado the focus of his promised immigration crackdown. Well, we now know what ICE has done here in the first half of the year. Not because of transparency from the Trump administration, but because of a lawsuit forcing them to reveal their numbers. Our Marshall Zellinger has them.
This is the holding facility in Aurora that people being held by ICE are taken. Because of a lawsuit by the UCLA Center for Immigration Law and Policy, we now have data on the number of people who may have been held here at some point or are still inside. ICE reports more than 2,200 arrests in Denver's area of responsibility, which is Colorado and Wyoming. This is from President Trump's inauguration on January 20th to June 26th, the last day we have data. That's almost 5 times as many arrests during the same time frame in 2024. The ICE database does not include a reason for the arrest, so we cannot say how many are because they were accused of violent crimes or how many are simply here without authorization. We also now have data on the number of people ICE took into custody because of a detainer request with a prison or jail. In 2025, that number doubled to just more than 2,000 compared to just less than 1,000 the year before. This database does include criminal history. There's a column for most serious conviction, so we know the most serious charge each of these people had on their record prior to being transferred to ICE custody. And in both 2024 and 2025, the top 3 previous convictions were for DUI, assault, and drugs.
As you could see on the database when I showed the file itself, there are a lot of blank cells. Many bits of information were lacking. But Kyle, now we have a glimpse, but the question is still really unanswered on the arrest side. Are ICE agents targeting the worst of the worst?
Right, because that's been our question all along. That was the promise from Trump. We're going after the worst people and we're getting them out. And a number of people who know immigration and deportation say you can't get the numbers that you want to get unless you're picking up people's grandma and their uncle and whatever who don't have serious criminal issues.
Right, there were a few dozen in the database that said they were just people that were picked up that were here without authorization. Is that the worst of the worst? Compared to, there were 5, I think, in one of the years for homicide, and some of those were from Wyoming, not just Colorado. Mm-hmm. People, I guess, would argue homicide is much worse of the worst compared to just being in the country illegally.
Sure, right? There's no argument about those folks, right? You know what? Grab them, good riddance. You know, it's all the other stuff that is, well, discussable, I suppose. All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. So it's called a Friday news dump. When an organization puts out unflattering information when people are least likely to see it, and that is when Governor Polis's administration provided us with records that we asked for weeks ago, the subpoenas that the state got from immigration agents. A state employee sued Democratic Governor Jared Polis to stop the state from sharing personal information with ICE agents, info on 35 people in Colorado. A state employee said that it violated Colorado's laws blocking some cooperation with ICE. A judge ruled the state should not share with ICE in that way. We just found out ICE asked the state for help 3 other times. Those subpoenas, which are heavily redacted, asked for information about businesses that would give ICE a list of their employees. Those subpoenas said it was related to a Homeland Security investigation, nothing more than that. And the records we got today didn't say if the state cooperated. Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains is now resuming services for patients who have Medicaid, about a quarter of their patients, but it may just be for a little while. The Republican budget plan, signed July 4th, blocks Medicaid payments to large healthcare nonprofits that offer abortion care. The change also affects services like breast cancer and cervical cancer screenings, STI testing, and reproductive and sexual health services. A judge has issued a temporary restraining order allowing those services to resume for now, but the order expires on Monday. Planned Parenthood is asking for a permanent injunction. Hey, quick note about tonight's program. It's going to have a little bit of a different flow than usual. We are currently broadcasting both on Channel 9 and on Channel 20. If you are watching on Channel 20, we'll turn you over to the Rockies game at 6:15. If you're watching the show on 9 News, it will continue through 6:30 like normal. It just means that some of our commercials are going to air at unusual times. We're going to have the exact same amount of time to talk about the news tonight. It's just going to be broken up into different chunks than usual. The people planning Colorado's 150th birthday celebrations want the public to know the governor's pedestrian bridge is not one of their projects, despite the use of their name and their logo to promote it. Denver's leaders are one step closer to agreeing to an $800 million to-do list and taking it to voters for their approval. And we end the week the way we always do. We carve out some time to share the good news in the lives of our neighbors. That's next.
Well, we've got a few weak thunderstorms bringing some gusty winds and some light rain to the area as we take a nice 2-day break from the severe weather. But it's back in the forecast for tomorrow. Hail possible on the northeast plains, a level 2 and a level 1 threat for tomorrow. High temperatures will be back into the low 90s for us across the Front Range. A little warmer to the northeast plains. Mountains might take a little bit of a break from the heat as the clouds move in just a little bit early. As you look at the 7-day forecast here, you can see that there's nothing but heat in here. 90s just about every day for the next 4 days. A trough of low pressure looking a little bit more impressive may keep the temperatures down below 90 degrees. And you see at least an isolated chance for showers each and every day. Isolated is 10 to 30% coverage. We might get a little bit better coverage on Thursday, but that's a hot week for you, Kyle.
The governor's controversial pedestrian bridge project is making it harder to raise money for other statewide celebrations of Colorado's 150th birthday. That's next. The statewide commission in charge of celebrating Colorado's 150th birthday next year is trying to distance itself from the governor's proposal to build a pedestrian bridge on the front lawn of the state capitol, a project based on millions of dollars in taxpayer money and millions in private donations. We have also learned that the governor's pet project is causing fundraising trouble for that commission trying to plan statewide celebrations.
We're working on big statewide initiatives like new monuments and new landmarks, new signage, new educational material.
The State Commission, planning celebrations for Colorado's 150th birthday, America's 250th next year, wants the public to know that the governor's controversial Capitol Bridge project is not one of their projects, despite the use of their logo and even their name in promoting it.
We are focused on supporting and raising funds and getting the word out for our main signature initiatives.
And the governor's bridge is not one of them.
It is not one of them.
Is the governor's push to find funding for his pedestrian bridge making it harder for you all to fundraise for your commemorative projects around the state?
I don't think that it's been more difficult.
That's not what commissioners are saying privately.
It will continue to be a factor in our fundraising.
We obtained recordings of their meetings where commissioners talk about having to compete with the governor's bridge project for philanthropic donations.
I will tell you, if it's me asking 200 and the governor asking for 200, whether mine's better or worse, doesn't matter. The governor's going to get it, not me.
The commissioners even talk about specific big dollar donations in limbo.
It was trending towards that, the gift coming to us, and then the governor called, and that was part of what stalled the gift.
As the governor's proposal faces opposition from Safe Streets advocates, historical preservationists, veterans, some disability advocates, Capitol Hill neighbors, and state legislators, the people working on Colorado's statewide celebrations want the public to know there are other projects being planned.
The wheels are in motion. It's going to happen. So that's what we really hope that people will take a part of.
The governor is currently putting his pedestrian bridge up for an online vote through Sunday night. You can find a link to vote. We put it in this article on 9news.com and on Next social media channels. Denver's mayor and city council had to decide where to spend $800 million to improve the city. And this process was kind of ugly till today. And we do not encourage approaching people using chainsaws. But you know what? We want to ask them about the good news in their lives. It's time for Rockies baseball. For everybody watching on Channel 20, Twins are in town to face the 22-74 Rockies. They are currently 35.5 games back in the NL West. A Republican strategist from Colorado raised concern last week when he reached out to county clerks, asking them to allow third-party access to their voting equipment. He now says he was volunteering his services to the Trump administration as part of an election integrity project. Well, it turns out this same Republican strategist also reached out to county leaders weeks ago, offering to get them off of Trump's sanctuary cities blacklist if they would pay him money. Yesterday, we reported that several Republican clerks in Colorado were concerned about what happened with Jeff Small, a consultant with the Denver-based 76 Group and former chief of staff for Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Several county clerks say Small told them that he was working with the White House and that he asked the clerks whether they would allow the administration to access their voting equipment to test for vulnerabilities. Today, Small's attorney told us he was just trying to connect clerks with somebody in the Trump administration to help set up a quote-unquote audit as part of President Trump's executive order on election security. Denver Post broke the story today that Small also reached out to several county commissioners in Colorado back in May after the Trump administration published a long list of municipalities it considered sanctuary jurisdictions, places that restricted law enforcement cooperation with ICE. Emails show that Small reached out to county commissioners in Jefferson County, warning them they could lose millions in federal funding and offering to get Jeffco removed from the list, quote, for a low one-time fee. Democratic Jeffco Commissioner Rachel Zenzinger told us she thought it was a scam. Another Democratic Jeffco Commissioner, Andy Kerr, told the Post that it felt like a shakedown. The Post reported that Small reached out commissioners in at least 5 counties in Colorado. That Trump administration's sanctuary city list, which was riddled with errors, was eventually taken down in full. Small told us he just wanted to help counties preserve their federal funding, that he helps get some Republican-led counties off that list free of charge. We should note, more than a decade ago, Jeff Small worked at 9 News in a non-journalism role. Denver is planning to go to voters to ask for $800 to $900 million in borrowing. The mayor and city council have been having some zesty disagreements about which projects should get funded. But our Spencer Soysher hears the sweet sounds of compromise.
It's a meaningless list. It was just tone deaf. I don't know what you think we're thinking of here.
What a difference a week can make.
I'm much happier with a list with prices.
Denver City Council member Paul Cashman was miffed last week when a committee shared its Denver bond project recommendations with the city council.
This is as good an example as you're ever going to find of you don't want to watch the sausage being made.
Sausage fest aside, he thinks things are finally cooking again. The mayor's office took that list, some feedback, and gave revisions to the councilors today. The biggest additions from the mayor's office now include $20 million for a new skate park and recreation hub in District 4, southeast Denver, and now $15 million toward improvements for Evans Avenue in Cashman's District 6.
If there had have been nothing for Evans Avenue on it, I would have had to be a no vote.
The list still includes big money to fix the 6th and 8th Avenue bridges and a first responder training center.
It's not done yet.
Councilmember Stacey Gilmore was unhappy the original list didn't assign her district the site plan for an American Indian cultural embassy. This one does.
It's at 56th and Pena. It's 600 acres of open space.
She wants more money for it, but is pleased with the direction. Her district, which had one listed project before, now has 4.
Yes, that is a win for sure.
If the city wants to get the bond on the November ballot, the mayor's office needs the councilors on board.
I'm very confident that that we're going to be able to get it done.
The mayor planned for it to work out. Now it appears it's trending up with the council members too.
It is better than it was, yes.
I'm a lot closer to a yes vote than I was.
The big loser today is the Denver Zoo. They were initially slotted to get $50 million with the first round. Now the zoo is recommended to get just $3. The mayor's office told me the zoo had a great idea for a new exhibit, but it was expensive and not a great fit for this particular bond that's centered around infrastructure.
They're just going to have to let some of those lions loose. Next steps on this. What happens?
Yeah, they're in a hurry to get this on the ballot. There's an earlier date in August that they've got to decide to vote on it by, and then they can apply for a waiver, and it can be later in August, but there is definitely a hurry to get this done by the end of August on the city council's end to get it on the ballot for voters here in November.
Oh, Mayor wasn't lying yesterday when he told me he thought that he had a deal that they were going to like.
Sounds
All right,
like
we'll
it.
keep watching it. Spencer, thank you. For the past 13 years, the town of Frederick has been letting people go nuts with chainsaws in one of their parks, one day only. We decided to carefully approach with our favorite Friday question. What's your good news?
My good news is Chainsaws and Chuck Wagons is happening this week in Frederick. Chainsaws and Chuck Wagons is our 4-day annual chainsaw carving competition. The carvers have 4 days to complete a masterpiece carving. They've been working on them since Wednesday, and they have until tomorrow, Saturday, to wrap them up. And so then the public gets to vote on them tomorrow.
My good news is that I'm here in Frederick, Colorado, and I get to chainsaw carve in this beautiful place.
Today I'm making a balloon dog out of a big piece of cottonwood, I believe.
I'm making a moose wearing plaid. I'm working on his name. I'll know it by tomorrow.
My good news today is the sun's up and we woke up, the dogs are happy, my wife's happy, life is good.
Good news is we have beautiful weather and just found out that my son got engaged.
I love chainsaw carving because it's so fast and it has a sense of danger, though I think anyone can do it if you learn.
It's good, rugged outdoor work and keeps you healthy, keeps you strong. You get to express yourself through art, which is fantastic.
Usually we anticipate about 5,000 people throughout the week.
My good news is I get to come to the Carvers Show, and I do it every year. Every year I get a little bit more than I probably should have.
I was just sitting on a bench that fell over, but I thought that bench was beautiful. It didn't hurt.
This event is just so friendly. Like, I love the people out here.
And we hope everybody feels like family when they come.
That bench. Beautiful but unstable. I dated somebody like that in college. We're back with your feedback and an invitation to work together to make life easier for families facing a tough diagnosis. Next. There are families that will receive life-changing diagnoses for their kids in our community, and they will also receive the best assistance and guidance that you can imagine through this. And we can help. This week's Word of Thanks Microgiving will provide a boost to the folks at the Children's Diabetes Foundation. When kids in Colorado are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, their families are dealing with both a medical challenge and a financial one. The cost of diagnosis, the cost of pumps, insulin, test strips. For some families, it's also the cost of coming in from all over Colorado for the specialized care they get at the Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes in Aurora. The first year of care can cost families up to $20,000, and they've got thousands of dollars more in medical costs each year. The Children's Diabetes Foundation's Helping Hand program helps families cover the cost of their diabetes supplies. It can help with emergency funds for hospital stays, travel expenses for treatment. It allows these families to keep their focus on making sure their kids are healthy and not so much the financial strain. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me in donating. More than 5,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info once, and each month your donations automatically split among all the nonprofits we feature. It's become the bedrock of these campaigns, allowing us to start each week with about $30,000 in donations. It's time for feedback. This from Ross in Loveland. Hi, Kyle. Have to ask, what is your reaction to the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's Late Show? Is it a harbinger of curbs on free speech? You know, Ross, I read up a lot on that yesterday, and I'm not sure that I have inside information that provides real good insight on this. I would just say, as somebody who kind of works in the business, right, given CBS's settlement of what appeared to be a pretty frivolous lawsuit brought by President Trump over 60 Minutes, and then this happening in quick succession, does not look good, right? That does not portend good things. Now, that said, Colbert's going to be able to be on the air through next May. So if the intent was to silence him, they could just pay him to sit at home. And they're not doing that. So I think we'll have to see. I'll see you next time.